New at 5:30, sentencing is scheduled for next week in the case of a couple convicted of murdering their 3-year-old niece, who was also their foster child.
We submitted a records request to see what happened during Serenity Gandara's tragically short life. 17's Kristen Price joining us now with shocking details about a family torn apart by abuse, drug use, and murder. Kristen.
Jim, Carla Torres and Albert Garcia killed their niece nearly 6 years ago. While family members have partially placed blame on Child Protective Services, new documents show a generational cycle of abuse throughout the family. Serenity Julia Gandara was named after her great-grandmother. During a busy lunch hour in 2000, Serenity's grandfather walked into the Northeast Bakersfield Taco Bell, where his mother-in-law, Serenity's great-grandmother, worked. He shot her twice with a sawed-off shotgun.
We have been in contact with the family members. They've indicated that he's been acting bizarre for a few days.
Serenity's grandfather is serving 80 years to life in prison for first-degree murder. Her father, Pedro Gandara Jr., was just 12 years old. CPS records indicate Pedro Gandara, like his daughter, grew up surrounded by drug use and physical abuse. CPS records state he was placed in protective custody as a child because his mother was not able to care for him. Documents state the mother had a long history with CPS and was a known drug user. CPS reports show Pedro Gandara continued that cycle of abuse when he had children of his own, including Serenity. In 2006, 8 months after his first child was born, Pedro Gandara was convicted of spousal abuse. He spent 6 months in jail. In 2007, he served a month for violating a court order to prevent domestic violence. CPS first investigated Pedro Gandara and Serenity's mother, Yesenia Garcia, for neglect in 2007 when Serenity was 6 months old. The allegations were ruled unfounded. A few days later, Serenity's father was arrested on drug charges and eventually pleaded guilty. 7 months later, in April 2008, more neglect allegations, this time substantiated. Documents allege the parents used meth and PCP and were unable to care for their children. Serenity and her older brother were taken out of the home and placed in protective custody when their mother was arrested on drug charges. According to CPS reports, the mother's parents were unwilling or unable to file for guardianship, and a social worker suspected the grandmother was also using drugs after she tested positive. Reports also accuse Pedro Gandara's mother of doing drugs and being part of the problem. That's when Yesenia Garcia's brother, Albert Garcia, and his wife, Carla Torres, began caring for the children. 2 years later, the couple beat Serenity to death and fled to Mexico, leaving her brother alone in the home with Serenity's lifeless body.
I asked Carla, what happened with the baby? She told me, I hid it because he peed in the pants.
Serenity's grandmothers, Maria Garcia and Renee Maese, spoke with 17 News multiple times after her death about their concerns while the children were in foster care. None of those concerns are documented in CPS records.
They should have gave them back. Family wanted them, and they should have gave the kids back to us.
The grandmothers spoke out, but never disclosed the family's history in the system. It went virtually unknown until we uncovered these documents. Still, the family blames CPS for not doing more.
We would have been happy and took them, and I would have still had a granddaughter.
Carla Torres and Albert Garcia are scheduled to be sentenced May 11th for second-degree murder and willful cruelty to a child. Torres was also convicted of assault on a child with great bodily injury. She faces 25 years to life in prison, while Albert Garcia could spend less time behind bars. Kristen Price, 17 News.